What day is it?
Today's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
Hey, sorry I woke you up.
Time to get up.
It's time to get up.
You know I do not get up at times.
You're the reason people wake up in the morning.
Don't kiss me. Morning breath.
What time do you have?
Oh, time for work.
Ready to start the day.
Everyone have a good show.
It's showtime.
Good morning, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone welcomes you into DJ and PK on this Tuesday. Yeah, we're running out of time here in July. DJ's off today. I'm PK. Riley Jensen will be joining me here shortly. And we got a lot of football to be talking about. College football practice starts next week. Can you believe it? Yeah, I can. All season goes fast for me. I guess maybe January and February are a little slow. But then when you roll into March and the weather starts getting better and spring gets here, I don't really think about it. But then, sure enough, once you have media days, and we had it earlier than usual this year for at least Utah, with them now being in the Big 12. It was, July 10th and 11th, pretty early, or 9th and 10th, whatever that was, a couple of weeks ago. We were down there giving you coverage, and we'll have coverage here all season long. I'm PK. You know my voice. Thanks for joining us all these years. I was going through the travel. Made some travel arrangements yesterday. Yeah. How about this? BYU, they got a big game right out of the chute, second week down in Dallas against the SMU Mustangs, 11-3. I was listening to ACC Media Days on the radio yesterday. Yeah, that's right. SMU is now in the ACC. How about that? Crazy, huh? And they're not going to take any money from the TV. They basically, as they refer to it, they're a walk-on in the ACC. I thought that was an interesting way of phrasing it. And what the national guys were talking about is don't be sleeping on SMU. You know, they got 11 wins last year, and they got all sorts of money. And with that money, you can buy stuff, right? You can buy a football program. Look no further than the Oregon Ducks. You can say what you want, and they've gotten a lot better, no doubt about it. But why have they gotten a lot better? Well, it's quite obvious, isn't it? Mr. PK, the other PK, Phil Knight, has been dumping tons of money into the program. Continues to the point where, Kirby Smart made a reference to it last week about, he was joking because Lanning used to be on his staff and is now the head coach at Oregon, and talking about, wish he had Phil Knight money to outfit that program. Yeah, that'd be awfully cool to do that, wouldn't it? Well, SMU's got, they're going to have the same thing, because if they're going in this thing and not interested in what they get out of it outside of just being on the other side of the line, and then lets you know that they got money. So they need to be taken seriously. So I made reservations for that. Also going to check out a stadium. It's my goal to get to all the big league stadiums. I think I got 6 more to go. And that weekend, the Texas Rangers are home, so I can check off another one. So I'm pretty excited about that one. It's a Friday night game, if you recall, on the schedule, BYU SMU. Yes, it is. They will be playing on that Friday night, and looking forward to that, to see what the Cougars can do there. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then I also made a travel arrangement to Stillwater, Oklahoma. What is that? That is Utah's first conference game in the Big 12. It's funny because if you can remember back, the first conference game in the Pac-12, remember who was it against? USC. USC Trojans, right? They went down there, took them right down to the end. Well, here, now it's going to be the Oklahoma State Cowboys, who, if it were me, I know it was Utah and Kansas State. It's separated by 1 vote. I think the Utes got 20 for first place, and Kansas State got 19. Yeah, that's the way it was. I would have put Oklahoma State in there. I just think that they've got a lot of guys returning, and I know they had some issues and all that stuff defensively, but always seem to find a way. I don't know how they do it over there. You know, only been following their program from a distance. Now I'm going to be up close. I'm going to follow their program from right on top of it, man. Looking forward to going to their stadium, T-Boone Pickens. That's another program. A ton of money that was dumped into their program by Mr. T-Boone Pickens. And what happened? They got a lot better. That's what it takes. So Kyle Whittingham been talking about that. You need to have money into the program. That's the reality of it, That's true. All right. As I said, we'll be talking about football all morning long for sure. Looking forward to that. And Riley Jensen is here. So that'll be super cool as far as that goes. And here's what we're going to do off the bat here. We are going to talk about BYU. Listen to an interview I did with Micah Harper when they had their BYU Media Days and had an opportunity to talk with him. I asked him about getting better last year. I didn't phrase the question all that well. I know he didn't play, but as talking to Jay Hill, I had spoken to Jay Hill and the defensive coordinator, and Jay Hill had said that Harper got a lot better last year, even though he didn't play, because you can be in the film room, you can learn, you can take on a game from an analytical standpoint as far as learning. We've heard about guys doing that, and so that's what I meant when I asked Micah about that very question. So here you go. This is me with Micah Harper. Okay, I'm here with Micah Harper, star defensive back. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir. That's me. I try to be a star.
We were talking to Kalani, and he was talking about how the team thought that last year was a good learning experience and what the Big 12 was all about. Could you speak to that?
I would agree. I think, last year, first year in the Big 12, it was a learning experience. We had a new strength staff. We had a new defensive staff. Just playing against different competition. But I think, after playing in year one, year two will be a lot better. We got a greater understanding of the defense, better understanding of the players that we're going to be playing against, and I think year two is going to be really good.
Usually what you find as the conference season progresses, you're either a contender or you're a spoiler, right? And depending on how your season goes. And I find that as the season progresses in that point, when you go on the road or even when you're at home, conference games just seem to be a little bit more important for teams as they're jockeying for a position. How fun was it to be in that situation, to be in a conference, to play those types of situations for the team?
Oh, it was amazing. When you play in the conference, you build rivalries within the conference, and you're playing for something at the end of the season. You're playing for a good bowl game potentially, and also a conference championship.
You had at the end of the year there where you guys had a couple of tough losses right to the Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, and obviously that would have been something that you could have used to get bowl eligible. But your team played well, much better later in the season than it did earlier. How much can you build off of that?
I think, losing those two games, but making it so close, it really helps us building into this year. Just knowing that, we were toe-to-toe with Texas and Oklahoma, and those are two of the top teams in the Big 12. Now that they're no longer in the Big 12, it's a race, and it's a fair game for everybody to win this championship this year.
One of the things that was beneficial, I think, to the team last year is you had some injury issues, which allowed other guys to get some playing time. People have to step up and take their place. How much do you think you were able to build your depth? So inevitably, football, as we know, somebody's going to get injured somewhere along the line. So maybe be able to withstand those a little bit better.
It definitely, obviously injuries suck. But, just the fact that a lot of us were able to play last year helps to build our depth and, ultimately makes us more confident going into the season. We go into every game we knowing that, we got everybody on the team that's able to contribute. We're not afraid. And, when somebody goes down, the next man's up, she's going to pick up right where we left off.
I want to talk to you specifically about the defensive backfield. Safeties were out most of the time, and you had some guys in and out of the lineup. But you also have some guys that you can count on. Could you speak to some of the guys that you've seen as your teammates and your back there defensive backfield that you think that can really make a name for themselves and for the team this season?
Yeah, so you got Crew Wakely. Crew Wakely transferred in last year, came in and balled out for us last year, a strong safety. Ethan Slade came in. He's been known as a hard worker. He came in and really produced for our team as well. Tanner Wall, for a few games that he was able to contribute as well. He balled out. Unfortunately, he went down as well, but, it's that next man mentality. Everybody went in, everybody contributed, and, everyone helped us to either win a game or, learn from our losses.
How about yourself? Evaluate your play last year.
I didn't get to play last year.
Right,
so.
but I mean, when you were able to be held, I realize when you suffered that injury early, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah. But I mean, when I say play, I'm talking about so it wasn't something that was an absolute waste for you, that you were able to develop your game. I realize that you had the injury and you didn't get in there on the field, but I don't think that you just sat around doing nothing. That's what I'm getting at.
Not at all. So last year was definitely a learning experience. I learned a lot mentally, and just increase my football IQ off the field. A lot of study sessions with Coach Jay Hill. That dude is a mastermind, and he knows the football. He knows the game of football really well.
Right.
And just picking his brain throughout the season. Seeing what he sees, and being on the same page as him definitely helped my game. I felt like I was taking a lot of mental reps, playing the game without even playing the game. On the sideline, and I think that really helped. I was imagining myself on the field when the plays were going. What I'd be doing, what I would have done differently, and I think I still felt like I played the game every game.
Right, that's what I was getting at, because normally when guys are in that situation where they, in your case, obviously literally missing the entire season, that they don't just sit around and make it a waste of time. So now with that in mind, with the experience that you have had on basically, when I say play, learning how to play is what I meant, and going forward, how much do you think you can be better for having had that situation occur? Obviously, you don't want it, but it did occur, and I'm thinking that you think that you could be better for it going into this season.
That is correct. I think this next coming year, when I play on the field, I think, I'm going to be back out there making a lot of plays, and even more plays than I did in the past.
How about Jacob Robinson on the other side? A small dude, but he seems to be very electric, and obviously he has a nose for the ball. I mean, that's got to be fun to play with a guy like him.
Yeah, no, I love playing with Jacob Robinson. Jacob's one of the best corners in the entire country. He's a little smaller in stature, but on the field you don't see that.
Right.
He plays bigger than he is. He's quicker. He's quick as a cat, and he has a great knack and ability to stay close in coverage without creating PIs, and a lot of contested hard throws for the quarterback.
Were you able to learn stuff about the quarterbacks that are returning in this conference when you were studying? Was it included with the opposition, or was it just more on what DBs what they can be doing, and it doesn't really matter what the opposition is? Or did you zero in a little bit more on some of these quarterbacks that you're going to go up against as a team this year?
It was a little bit of both. A lot of zeroing, and also on the offense, or even the offensive coordinator, just seeing what he's trying to do at the end of the day. If you just pick Coach Hill, he's always calling our coverages and a lot of our defenses into what he believes that the offense is trying to do on that specific situation. I think picking his brain and learning, because he has this saying that people don't change. They're going to have the same tendency, the same offense that they have been running since they started. Mm-hmm. And once you get on jump on that, it's easy to, now you just got to react. You already know what they're going to do.
How about the people in front of you? I'm speaking obviously the defensive line and the linebackers. What have you been able to notice about them?
Oh, they're good. I love them right now. Our front seven's looking amazing. We just got Jack Kelly just transferred in from Weber State. He's one of the best linebackers I've seen in all of college football that I played with. You got Tyler Batty returning. Tyler Batty's already, he's a known defensive end, edge rusher, and Isaiah Glasker, he's tall, lengthy, one of the athletic freak. You got a lot of new D tackles that just transferred in, and they're going to be making noise up the middle, stopping the run. And Ben Bywater, it'll be nice to have him back as well, coming off that shoulder injury. And we got a great front seven that's it's going to be nasty this year.
Did you and Ben commiserate at any point last season?
Yeah, we talked about it when we both got injured, it sucked. It's God's plan, though. At the end of the day, like, last year wasn't our year, but this year, hopefully this is his plan.
Now, you spoke about the mental aspect. How about also the physical aspect yourself? How much stronger, bigger, and that type of stuff do you feel?
Oh, I feel a lot better. I'm weighing about 195 pounds. My body fat is cut as well. My speed increased. I'm moving right now. I'm feeling really good, and, I think this is going to be a great year.
All right, thank you, Micah.
Thank you.
Okay, there it is. Me with Micah Harper. Coming up next, we are going to let you hear from the guy who's in charge of Black Desert running the show. They got a PGA tournament coming in a couple of months, 3 months in October. Excited about that. We'll get to that next. Stay with us. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, and sponsored by Hercules Credit Union and Beehive Meals. DJ and PK. I'm PK. DJ's off. Riley Jensen, mental health performance coach, former Utah State quarterback, joining us and sitting in. And right now, my guy from down south, Patrick Manning, managing partner at Black Desert Resort. Mr. Manning, how the heck are you?
PK, it's been too long. I'm doing good.
Yes, we've communicated via text, and it's just I'm getting excited as we continue to count it down. The tournament, I saw a thing on USA Today the other day. They were listing the fall schedule, and in the headline, including new tournament in, it's technically in Ivins, but we consider it the St. George area, Black Desert Resort, and it had a picture there. And, of course, the picture is looking north, and it's looking into Snow Canyon, and obviously, man, it looked awesome. I was down there a couple of weeks ago, as you know. Tell us how things are coming along, just generally speaking.
Well, things are awesome. And as far as that view and that you just mentioned, God got it right, and we just had to build a course. So we got the easy part. But everything's going great. The course is in spectacular condition. The resort's coming along. We'll be ready to go. I mean, it's insanity that we're trying to open this resort and host the PGA Tour practically in the same week. But we're going to do it. It's all going good.
If you were to someone like me who hasn't been to the course yet and hasn't had a chance to golf it, what's the best hole? What's the most unique hole, and why would I want to golf it?
Well, I mean, I'm not exaggerating when I say we hear every single day. I think every single hole gets mentioned. Our golf carts are GPS controlled, and we can count the minutes that each golfer is at a tee box. And I can share with you that tee box number 16, hole 16, is where people take the longest to tee off, and it's because it's where they're getting the selfies of the canyon and the beautiful green. 7's amazing. 3 is a par 3 like Riviera Country Club with a bunker in the green. It's pretty cool. 17, I mean, you just can't go wrong. I mean, really, I'm trying to give you like a great answer, but it's every single hole is amazing. What's even better about that is we maintain 15-minute tee times at Black Desert, and the transition areas between holes allows it so that you feel like you were the only person or the only foursome on the course that day. And so it's a really unique experience, I think.
So the tournament is going to be October 9th through the 13th at the Black Desert Resort, and obviously it is the return of PGA Tour golf to Utah for the first time in more than 60 years. And I was texting with you, the pro up in Teton Pines in Jackson, Wyoming, last month when I was up there, was asking me about general admission tickets. And tell us about that, because you got some new information on that.
Yeah. We just, it's pretty important for your listeners if they intend to come down here and experience the PGA Tour. they should go to blackdesertevents.com and pre-register on August 6th. Anyone who's pre-registered is going to be able to buy at blackdesertevents.com or Ticketmaster the general admission tickets and daily VIP hospitality one day before they go on sale to public on August 7th. But that's the official launch on sale date is August 7th.
And how many spectators do you anticipate being able to be on the course during the tournament?
Yeah, so we're expecting roughly 40,000, and we're likely going to limit it to that number so that we have, a really good fan experience. At first, we were concerned about how well we were going to be able to get the gallery around the course, but we've made a ton of changes. But then also we're doing something a little bit unique up on the mesa, if you will, between holes 10, 16, 17, and 18. So you've got all the finishing holes. We're building a fan village. So all the merchandise and concessionaires and games for kids and all kinds of stuff is going to be a really cool spot where you can walk the course, of course, or if you want to just catch all the finishing holes, there will be a whole lot to do to watch those 4 holes.
Patrick Manning, managing partner, Black Desert Resort, joining us. When you talk about resort, that's exactly what this is. This isn't just a country club. When you go down there, and if you go down, unless you live there, you can see it every day. But if you're like the rest of us up here who go down, I'll probably be down the first part of August, and I check it out, and that'll be about a month in between I will be there. And it's just amazing all the stuff that's going on. When you talk about getting stuff ready, hotel, restaurants, all that, give us an update on how all that's going.
Yeah. First, I just want to say this just as bluntly as I can. This is not a private resort. This is a resort for everybody. We like to call it Utah's resort. But we'll have, over a dozen restaurants, not open for the PGA Tour. We'll have 5 restaurants open for the tour. We'll have hundreds of hotel rooms. We'll have a convention center, pools and hot tubs and lots of fun stuff to do for everybody. We're opening this thing probably a little bit sooner than we would like, with the PGA Tour being a hard date. So we will be a construction zone for the next, couple of years. But we're going to do our best to shield the experience from the construction. But it's something that we're keeping our eye on and finding ways to be able to show people a really, really good time and still keep the tractors working.
As far as this golf tournament coming up, is there any, besides knowing you, is there any lottery or any good way to try and get into this event? Because I know you're capping it, and it looks like it's going to be a great experience for those that get in. But how do I get in besides logging onto the website and hoping to get there?
Well, that's pretty much it. We're not going to do a lottery or anything. We'll keep an eye on it. We really, I say we're going to limit it because we probably have to. But we also want to try and get everybody in here that is excited about coming. And I think we'll do a pretty good job. I don't think very many people will be disappointed they couldn't get in. But we'll have to get more and more creative as those final days come and we figure out how to make sure we put on a great tournament and everybody has a good time. But I would say as long as you buy tickets, by August 15th, you should be fine. So you got a little bit of time.
Patrick Manning, managing partner at Black Desert Resort. When you say that, and I think this too, when you said that, I can get what you're saying. When you say that, it's probably a little bit sooner than you want, but you do have that hard date because the tournament is going to be there from October 9th through the 13th. What percentage of the property will you have done by the time the PGA Tour pros show up?
That's a kind of a tough question, and it's too early for those, PK.
Okay.
It's,
I thought you meant too early in the calendar, but you mean too early in the morning. I got you.
So Resort Center, which is the main hub of the resort, will have about 200 rooms open. We'll have 3 restaurants in that building itself. We'll have 2 other restaurants out on the course called Club 73 in the Oasis. Club 73 is opened now, by the way. But the resort is, you know this, PK. The resort is huge.
Right.
And so when somebody says, like, what's the schedule, or like you said, what percentage is going to be open, if you're talking about the entire project, it's about 15%.
Right. I meant I didn't mean the entire project. I meant for the golf tournament that you want open. It
will be nearly immaculate. We will still have a construction zone. But that's buildings going up that aren't going to be in the way. You're not going to be driving through construction. You're not going to be experiencing construction while you're at the PGA Tour at all. It'll just be happening. So,
yeah.
But it's not on the. It's not nothing under construction on the course. And then if you're staying in the hotel, it's not really under construction. It's other villages that are coming online. Like where our water park is, the family village that surrounds that'll be under construction.
Right. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because people like Riley. I've been down there several times, and I've been on the property probably 10 times now. But the reason why I was saying that is people will go down and they'll see it and they'll be blown away by the course, and then I want them to realize that you guys, your managing partner, and all that stuff. You're just basically scratching the surface, and when this thing is done, when it's complete, the whole thing, when it's complete, it is going to be the ultimate game changer, I believe, in the St. George area, which will extend down to Vegas and up to here in northern Utah, because it's going to be that massive and that impressive. But for the meantime, it'll certainly be good enough to house and hold a PGA tournament.
Well, for sure. I'll put a little cherry on top there. We will be ready this first year, our inaugural year. I'm making more of the construction than I probably should. We will be the first only place in the world that hosts a PGA tournament this October that we can handle all of the things that need to go on a PGA Tour on site, meaning we don't have to have satellite for daycare for the players, and we broadcast teams, and all of that's going to happen on site. Secondly, this will be the only spot in the world that for a PGA Tour that the players will have their own building, meaning one of our resort center buildings will be player only, and that building includes the locker rooms, a 14,000 square foot sports bar that will be player only, and they can walk to fitness and all of that without public interface. So when the players are outside the ropes and they need a little downtime and to restore their minds, they can do so at Black Desert like they can't do anywhere else on tour.
And let's not forget, Mr. Manning, that in less than a year now, you got the LPGA coming. I'm excited about that too.
I believe me, I don't forget about that. I'm so excited about the LPGA coming the first week of May next year, and it's not a done deal. We are determined to make this a stop like the women have never seen, and so same thing for the men. But we're working with SkyWest Airlines right now, and before our tournament is the Chevron, which in Houston, which is a major. And we're partnering with SkyWest for the first time ever to send jets to Houston and to fly the entire field of women here privately, so they don't have to deal with airports or commercial.
Yeah.
But we'll fly them private charter to Black Desert, and they won't pay for any of the travel or the stays at Black Desert.
Really cool.
That is cool.
Anything else that I didn't get to that you want to add in?
No, I don't think so. I think we're good.
Yeah, well, we'll be talking to you as this gets going here as we start to heat up into August and in September for sure. We'll probably talk to you about 10 or you or somebody representing Black Desert several times between now and then we'll be down there. It's just going to be awesome. I'm way excited about it.
Awesome. Great talking to you guys this morning.
All right, that was Patrick Manning. Coming up next, we will hear from Amy Donaldson. KSL Sports does podcast for KSL, wrote a great piece on the Utah State situation. Stay with us. We'll get to that next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Well, now you may think I'm fooling for the foolish things I do. You may want.
Welcome back in, DJ and PK. DJ's off today. Riley Jensen is sitting in now. I got one of my OGs joining us. I'm one of my original gangsters from way back when. I've known this lady since she was a young lady, and we're both old now, aren't we, Amy, huh?
We are indeed. Just Crypt Keeper is calling.
Amy Donaldson joining us. And Amy, you work, I've known you for years and years, obviously, from the Deseret News, but now you're a producer and host for KSL Sport Podcast and a writer for KSL Sports. And I love, and this is something that we don't see as much as we used to, but I love great journalism. And the piece that you wrote on Jerry Bovee and the situation with him at Utah State is absolutely phenomenal journalism. So first of all, I want to compliment you on a thorough and complete job, because that was journalism at its finest.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. It was, as you know, I'm not doing daily journalism as much anymore, but couldn't resist trying to talk our buddy Jerry Bovee into telling me, telling publicly kind of like some of what's going on, because it's really rocked that community. As you know, you're really familiar with that sports community, college community up there, and it's hard for a lot of people. And I think it's going to take some time to play out in its fullness. But I think there are a lot of things that we need to keep in mind as we listen to it play out.
Well, as I read it, and, you know, it was thorough. You talked to a lot of different people. It was just a great piece. But I came away with some questions, because in the story you're going and you've got what the university's saying and then what Jerry's saying as far as what was he responsible for reporting the Title IX, if there's anything involved as far as that goes, sexual abuse, whatever it might be, and Blake Anderson, the head coach, he gets dismissed, and I'm not sure what they're attaching Jerry Bovee to that led to the dismissal.
Yeah, so I think the interesting thing, if you read, now my colleague at the Deseret News, Trent Wood, has done some amazing reporting. We've actually kind of been working together, one of the advantages of our company, but working together on this and helping each other. And we may come out with a bigger piece later this week that I think will help, like, the overarching situation here. But I think what's happening is you have individuals who have different levels of responsibility. But what the report from this Hughes Blackwell, this independent investigative law firm, what they're saying about Blake is different than what they're saying about Jerry. So they actually said Jerry probably met the 24-hour requirement. There's some ambiguity in the language, and as I pointed out, there's a conflict in the rules. But that's where Blake's case, I think, really hinges, and that is they're saying his responsibility was to report this, and telling Jerry was not enough. And so they're dinging him, like they're saying everything else doesn't matter, basically. If you don't report, you know, all else fails. But there are some other issues, and one of those issues is him talking to the student athlete, talking to the alleged victim, talking to a roommate of the student athlete. And those are things that the Title IX office asks people not to do, because, of course, it can be seen as interfering in an investigation. But there is also a rule in the student handbook that requires coaches and athletic directors to gather enough information that they can decide if the student athlete should remain part of the team. And so there's this little gray area there that nobody's really talking about. And I saw, Blake taking some heat for doing this investigation. I'm not saying it was right or wrong, because I don't know enough about it, but I'm saying there is this requirement of a coach and an athletic director to collect this information. And what Jerry is saying, he didn't know anything about the collection of information. He knows, and said there's been a ton of training on it, that once you report it to the Office of Equity, it's hands off. they handle it and they'll let you know. And so, they're saying that Jerry didn't do enough, that he didn't, everything he knew wasn't in that information reported by Mr. Olson, who has since retired the university. So, yeah, I think it's interesting. I think one thing that's missing for me, one question I have is, like, where is the investigation of the Title IX complaint, period? Where do we see this is how the school handles the complaint once it reached them? All I see is sort of a look at the people who were involved in the reporting of it. I don't see any investigation into how the Office of Equity handled it once it was reported. And I hint at that in my story, that the student athlete says he wasn't interviewed until May of 2024.
I'm always interested, Amy.
Yeah.
Obviously, I read the article. I thought it was fantastic as well. I think, if there's anything that I can say about Amy Crosby and Jerry Bovee, is they're just outstanding individuals. And so all of this is very surprising to me on a lot of different levels. I think this is always important. Who is this, this independent research people, and where are they from? Like, who's the people that decide this kind of thing and do the investigation? I think we always just go, oh yeah, well, that's all on the up and up. Like, for sure that was an independent counsel. Who is it, and who are they, and how do they determine whether this is in line with school and Utah laws?
Well, so Title IX, as you know, Title IX policies are federal. And so and Hughes Blackwell, their attorneys, so it's Peter Land and a woman named Christine Zako. Interestingly, side note about Christine, she was actually at Michigan State when the Larry Nassar case was sort of mishandled. And I believe she was, if not fired, she was forced to resign over that situation. Oh. So I don't know enough about her involvement to say exactly. Maybe she was really peripherally involved. I don't know, but I do know that about her background. But they looked into this. I believe it was starting in end of October 2023, and then they issue a report. I believe it's in June of 2024, and they look at the university's policies, and they look at federal guidelines and what's required in Title IX, and then they say whether or not federal rules were followed, and also university policies, and also what access. One of the things they really ding Jerry hard on is that he's had so much training. I mean, he's the trainer. This is when I had very first heard about this. I'm like, if there's one, you both know me. I'm always shouting from the rooftops about women's sports and what we don't get and what we need and how unfair it is. Well, there's a guy who's listened to more than one of my lectures as well. So I was shocked, right? And so that's one of the reasons I reached out to him. And I will say he was pretty reluctant to do an interview at first, because I don't think most people see how this helps them to jump into this fray. And I want us to understand in the news, like you talk about daily stuff. For me, what I miss in daily is being able to bring some context and clarity as a story is evolving. And so it took a couple of weeks, but they agreed to do the interview. But this outside law firm, they're not from Utah, they usually never are, and I think they're back from the Midwest somewhere, but they issued these findings, and some of the findings that they issued were that Jerry changed his story, which he said, obviously, it changes because it's not a thing that was forefront in his mind. It was such a small blip on the radar that it wasn't a thing that was forefront in his mind. And then the other thing was they found this conflict in the rules. So none of these reports are public. You have to get them from the people involved. And so now I believe Coach Anderson's attorney put his online, or on, maybe it's on Twitter, I don't know. Yeah. But it's online, and I was able to get Jerry's information, his report, from his attorney.
Right.
So that's where you have to get it. And that details what they find. And, yeah, I thought it was really different than what's been reported. And the university is the one that put out the statement and said they're being fired for how they handled this incident. Right. And so we all assume, what did they do wrong? And then we're not getting the information. That's the problem. In a vacuum, your imagination goes wild.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I see where you're going with this because these are the same questions that I had, and as you're presenting your piece, I can see what you're thinking basically, and as you're writing it all. Amy Donaldson, one of our peers at KSL, joining us, and going forward here, for a guy like Bovey, he's talking about getting his name cleared because this would be such a negative mark on you that it'd be hard to get a job in the field going forward. And as I look on what he's looking for, it's not necessarily, correct me if I'm wrong, not necessarily his job back. That'd be great, but that's probably highly unlikely. That it's to get a name cleared and then some money that might be owed to him, which I guess you can translate it and say the same thing for Blake Anderson.
Yeah, I think Blake's attorney has said he believes that Blake was targeted. They conducted this investigation to find a way not to pay him to pay what his contract demands. That's his assertion. So his assertion is Blake did nothing wrong, and this is them just trying to get out of paying a coach that they want to fire, a lot of money. And so it's a little bit different than Jerry's situation, which he feels like he and Amy Crosby are in the same boat, which is they're USU alum. Big money donors are very attached to these two. They really love them. They're very revered in the community. And being an outside AD coming into that, who has a totally different style, that has been problematic. And rather than sort of work these things out or just ask Jerry and Amy to resign and put her own people in, their assertion is, at least Jerry's assertion is that she just decided to use, to say they did something wrong, so we're not going to tolerate it. Also, in my opinion, this is Amy Donaldson speaking here. This is my read on reading all the stuff I've read in the last 2 weeks, is that there is a climate that is problematic at Utah State. And I don't think Utah State is alone in this. I have, as some of the reporters here locally have done, some investigative work on sexual assaults that were reported on college campuses. And it is, there are issues with how we handle sexual assault cases on Title IX. This is not a sexual assault case. In fact, it was never determined actually to be a domestic violence case. There are some assumptions being made, but there's never been determination. Domestic violence is a very specific type of assault. You have to have a familial relationship or be living together. There has to be a domestic relationship between two people. And so that's where there's an absence of that information, even in court documents. But there is no sexual violence here. But I think Utah State has been reeling for the past few years for a number of mishandled sexual assaults, and some domestic violence, involving athletes. And instead of addressing that, I think this is what we're seeing. And maybe this is part of that. Maybe from the university's perspective and the new president's objective, this is the way to get at it. But I think that the problem with Title IX is, especially Title IX enforcement, it lacks any kind of transparency. I don't know how we check to make sure these things are being investigated. If victims don't come forward, if people who are accused don't come forward and share things with us, we know nothing. We get no information. We have to be able to hold universities accountable and public entities who are subject to Title IX. We have to be able to hold them accountable for how they're enforcing these rules. And Utah State has been dinged over and over in the last few years. And I think this is part of, like I said, either their attempt to clean it up or getting at what they think is the problem. And that's a bigger issue, but I think there have been issues at USU.
Yeah, there's no question about that.
When you're investigating something like this, and you've been doing it for years and years, Amy, what would be the reason not to offer like a resignation and allow someone to bow out and to really just kind of go after their career? I don't understand. I don't understand the way it was gone about, and maybe that's something that we all just kind of scratch our heads on. But what are your thoughts, or what are your feelings as far as that goes?
I mean, I think you're right to say what is the reason for this, right? I mean, I've investigated a lot of these Title IX actions in public places, police departments, city governments, and I find it annoying that they're allowed to, quietly resign for not following the rules, right? So I think there might be an attitude of like, we have to make a public example of this. We have to do this in public. But my problem with it is, if you're going to do that, then you got to be accountable. You got to come out into the public and tell us your process and give us some reasons and help us understand this and why it isn't just a way to publicly take down people who are super. Nobody's going to get mad at you. Your donors aren't going to get mad at you if you get rid of somebody who's got Title IX issue. Title IX issue is literally the kiss of death in college sports. And so I think that there's just a lot of questions around it. I mean, I could suppose a bunch of stuff. I don't know if that's helpful in assessing it, but I do think that each of the individuals who lost their job has an assertion about why they did, and they're the ones who really know their situation. I think this university wants to look like they are changing this culture that has been pretty problematic in the last few years. And my only issue then is then talk to us about it. Tell us about it. Tell us what you're doing. Tell us where this is going. Why now? Why this space? Because Title IX is not just about sports. We pay attention when it's a college football coach, but Title IX is just it's in every department of in every aspect of life. It's in housing. It's in where people eat. It's in classes that they take. It's in financial aid they're allowed to have. And so if there are issues with Title IX at Utah State, we need to have a real, if we're having a moment, let's have an honest accounting of the moment.
So going forward, you guys, you talked about Trent and yourself with the D News.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be covering this for a good while, and you're going to have more pieces on this?
Yes, there will be more. I'll be writing for KSL Sports, Trent's at the Deseret News. I think we're going to probably try to do some other things, and we can reach out to you guys. I've known both of you forever. We've stood on a lot of sidelines together.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Exchanged a lot of bad takes.
Yep, that's for sure. Well, I'm looking forward to your guys' continue opportunity to explore this, because round one was pretty good.
Well, thank you. And thanks for having me. And, I'll come on anytime and talk to you guys, argue with you guys, whatever you want.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Amy, thank you. There you go. That's Amy Donaldson. All right, coming up next, we'll get you caught up. What's trending? Stay with us right now, right here at 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.